Episode 22 of the Stand Up with Pete Dominick podcast starts now. Today's question is, have you ever been targeted by a mob of any sort, online or otherwise? Hello, friends, and welcome to the classroom of life that is Stand Up with Pete Dominick, where every show we do our best to fight apathy and ignorance, learn together from expert guests, other interesting folks who I invite on the program, like last episode, the MAGA warrior from Texas, Trump supporter Brian. Ooh, people really liked that. Overwhelmingly liked that conversation. We talk about issues and ideas that matter to you, your family, your community, country, and planet. On today's episode, I welcome writer and commentator Molly Jong Fast. This year, Molly was called out by Marianne Williamson, Tucker Carlson, and she's interviewed lots of the women who have been targeted by President Trump, like E Jean Carroll, Lisa Page, and more. She also recently interviewed ex-Congresswoman Katie Hill, who was forced out of office by an organized campaign that included her ex-husband and other nefarious actors. And after I talked to Molly, I'm going to play her whole 7-minute resignation speech, which is powerful, inspiring, and moving. But I wanted to share with you one thing before I throw to my conversation with Molly Jong Fast, and that is this. Consider, just for a moment, not following the news all day long. Check in the morning, then maybe once in the afternoon, and again at night at most. An unintended consequence of losing my gig at SiriusXM, where I was live every day on the radio, is that I don't have to have the news dripping into my veins like an intravenous, and I can't explain how much better I feel. I mean, every time you open up Twitter, every time you go to your favorite news website or app, you see all kinds of crazy things that are happening, and it is beyond stressful. And if you're like me, it affects you. It affects everything that you're doing. And so I just want to recommend that you try to turn that off a little bit more. It can become very, very addictive, and I think really unhealthy. Here on this new podcast, we're examining issues and having long-form conversations. It's just different. It's different than the day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-to-minute stuff, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And apparently, so are you. The podcast is doing really well by every measure. I'm not going to lie to you. I was really concerned and nervous about it, but at this point, I think I'm all in, folks. We have over 220 people subscribed on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Pete Dominick. For just $5 a month or more, you can subscribe, and it's amazing. It's awesome. And tons of ratings on iTunes and people listening all over the place. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm going all in. I'm going to try to make this really work for me and my family, and it takes up a lot of time. I'm going to be doing more and more, and I'm really, really enjoying it. It keeps me from thinking about all kinds of other things and worrying about all kinds of other things, just getting to interview all these interesting, intelligent people. So if you've got any ideas as to who I should interview, if you've got any constructive criticism about the program, send it my way. standupwithpete@gmail.com or subscribe on Patreon and communicate with me there. Okay. You are going to want to stay till the end of today's show to hear my conversation with the President of the United States, President Trump. I don't want to give it away, but we did make a lot of news, so you're going to want to stay to the end. But first, here's my conversation with Daily Beast's editor-at-large, author of 3 books, a woman who I got to know really well, became pretty good friends with while I was at SiriusXM. She's real good on the Instagram and on the Twitter. My conversation with Molly Jong Fast. And so here she is from a closet. Where are you?
No, it's in my office.
That's your office in New York City.
Yeah, wait.
Oh, it's very nice. We're on FaceTime.
I can't believe you think it's an office. I think it's a closet.
I don't know why I thought that. It was like the door was behind you. Oh, that's
it's a teeny office. It's quite small, though.
I like it. I like looking at other people's offices. It's a nice nook in your home, in your apartment in New York City.
That's right.
Congratulations on a wonderful year of covering the chaos. You are doing it as well as anybody, and I'm really excited to watch everything happen. What's this year been like? Just real quick for you, you had the Marianne Williamson thing where she...
Well, that was sort of where you become the story. That's not so good.
Right. You didn't want that to happen, but it was a weird...
Yeah. Weird, wacky stuff. And Tucker Carlson.
What was that again? He
doesn't like me for saying mean stuff about, what's his name? Brett Ellis. So I got Tucker Carlson.
Oh, I called him a white supremacist on CNN last week, and he does not care at all about me. Damn it.
Well, he may not have seen it. But if you tweet it out and tag him.
Oh, okay.
You know, is that good?
Yeah, and then he'll have me on and then I won't get to talk, or?
No, you can't go on. You can't ever go on Tucker Carlson.
Why not?
Because there's a larger moral implication of going on Tucker Carlson, but there's also the problem, which is that when you go on Tucker Carlson, he tapes it and cuts it to make you look like an idiot.
Well, that wouldn't even need to be the case with me.
No,
they just play.
Remember when Michael Avenatti went on and they put the Chiron of creepy porn lawyer?
I think it's pronounced Chiron.
Sorry, the Chiron of creepy porn lawyer. It's not a good gig. You don't want to do that.
Ugh. Smart. I'm glad I talked to you. I should actually probably.
I'm very helpful.
I wish I should run every career and personal decision by you. You should start a consulting firm. Where you tell people what to do and what not to do in their life.
I will. That's like that's the only thing more stressful than what I do now would be that. Like, I am responsible for all your life decisions.
How do you feel when you say more stressful than what you're doing now? You're now at the Daily Beast, editor at large. You're writing opinion pieces there. And many of them are about women who have been put through what are you filing right now? It sounds very loud.
I'm sorry. I lost something.
What did you lose? What are you looking for?
My grandmother's ring. Oh, I found it. Never mind. Sorry. It was my grandmother's.
It really was. It was not.
Look, now it's not valuable, but it's pretty.
Speaking of your grandmother, women strong, I'm sure strong, independent, confident women who are the target of Trump's meat grinder. Is that yours?
Yeah.
Is that your phrase,
mine.
Trump's meat grinder?
Yes.
It's perfect. The
MAGA meat grinder.
The MAGA meat grinder.
Yeah, because it's different elements of it. One is that there's the issue of Trump and him like tweeting about you or whatever. But then there's the other issue, which is this idea of these people who like the MAGA world is more than just Trump's Twitter. It's also all of these movement. Like Trumpy media outlets like Am Greatness and MAGA News and Epoch Times, all these weird kind of sketchy Trumpy outlets that do the Trumpy bidding.
Is there a warehousing of all those media outlets that you just mentioned? Has someone kind of like been able to put them all in a place so we can see and share them with my parents and their Facebook friends?
I follow this awesome newsletter called The Writing, RIGHTING, and it goes through and picks up the headlines of all of these like Trumpy things. And it has Newsbusters and Rush Limbaugh and the Western Journal and the Daily Signal and Red State and all the sort of terrifying, The Caller, the Washington Free Beacon, the National Review, the Washington Examiner, the Federalist. It has all the sort of very Trumpy outlets.
I want to talk about all those media outlets with you at some point too, but getting to some of what I really want to talk, and I hope everybody will go to the Daily Beast and check out is it still called a byline? Where all of your articles?
I think it's called a byline.
Good. Because all of your articles are placed there, and I've been reading them before I taught you today, and you have been profiling and talking with a lot of the women who have been put through what you call the MAGA meat grinder, including Lisa Page, which was a huge exclusive that you had for the Daily Beast. That was big news.
Yeah, and nobody talked to her.
Katie Hill, Congresswoman Katie Hill, you talked with her, and you talked with E Jean Carroll, who you've become friends with, and you've written about all of those women. And first of all, like, are you now? This is great. Like, you're the woman in media that a lot of these women who've been put through the MAGA meat grinder, or who have been a target of Trump, or they come and talk to you. They trust you. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I am available to them if they want to talk, and I think it's. It's funny because Trump has this he has so much of the media that these women often don't stand a chance.
What do you mean?
They
don't stand a chance being heard?
If they want to tell their story, they don't stand. It's like Christine Blasey Ford is a great example. Christine Blasey Ford had this story she had to tell, right? And we've seen, by the way, that other places... Other people have had similar stories about him, right? We saw that before. Other women have come forward. The Times just had something, but
about
it didn't
Brett
matter.
Kavanaugh?
Yeah, but it didn't matter because she just got caught in the MAGA meat grinder, and you couldn't even hear it. It's just, it's infuriating. So
E Jean Carroll. This piece of the Daily Beast titled "Hero E Jean Carroll Steps into the MAGA Meat Grinder." You have touched base with her. She was friends with your mom, and now you have become friendly with her. You've obviously gained her trust, and she has filed a defamation suit against Donald Trump. And like you say, she's 75 years old. She's got nothing to lose. She's a really smart, well-connected woman, and she's got this amazing lawyer who I hadn't heard of really, or wasn't familiar with, at least her history.
She's amazing, yeah.
Robbie Caplan. Tell me first about Robbie Caplan. Well, first of all, E Jean Carroll, we should probably start there in case people don't know. She is a columnist who accused President Trump of some pretty horrific things. Tell us about her situation.
Well, she had a story where she, in the 80s, was raped by Trump. She alleges she was raped by Trump in the Bergdorf Goodman store. And she wrote about it, and Trump was like, I've never met her before. And then immediately, E Jean had a picture of her with Trump. And so Trump's word is not exactly his bond at this point, He has like a little more than 15,000 lies since he's been in office. So that's not probably a great sign for Trump, but it's hard for me to imagine that E Jean, all these women, we have he's at 24 accusers. It seems insane to me that they would all be lying when saying almost the same thing, and he would be the one person telling the truth.
Because the only thing that these women get for coming forward is to be put through what you call the MAGA meat grinder. That's what they get. They don't get
No, it's
paid.
Horrible. What they go through is horrendous. I mean, and it's horrible, horrible, horrible.
So, E Jean, I want to, and you write about the horror. You get these women to open up to you, and you write there, share their emotions and what they've been dealing with. And it's really important, I think, for people to read these types of accounts. But E Jean Carroll is suing Donald Trump, and she's got this great lawyer, Robbie Caplan, I want you to tell me about. But they think they've got a pathway to success somehow through some court for a defamation lawsuit, because Summer Zervos, another one of those, 20 women who have accused the president of sexually assaulting him one way or another, she's getting her day in court. And so what's going on legally here, and who is Robbie Caplan?
So Robbie Caplan is this really great lawyer who argued the Defense of Marriage Act in the Supreme Court and won. And so she's, just a very cool champion for liberal causes. And she went and took E Jean's case, and they're going to be able to sue him for defamation, I think. Now, look, it's Trump. So if suing Trump is like going down this horrible rabbit hole where you will never come back, and, who knows, he'll obfuscate for as long as humanly possible, but they're going to try. And the reality is Trump does defame these people, and it's not like a private citizen defaming someone. When Trump says this person did this or this person did that, his followers are really rabid, and they will come after these people and threaten them and do terrible things to them. So this does make a lot of, it makes sense that this is actually defamation in the most disturbing level,
And E Jean Carroll is someone that you've been talking to about this directly for this piece at the Daily Beast. And she says that about her motivation for suing the president, she says, I was unhappy that so many women were coming forward and the president was ridiculing them and laughing at their looks. Their honor was decimated. And so it really wasn't for me because I'm an old woman. I guess I just really feel like it's for the women who've come forward and were ignored, laughed at, ridiculed, disparaged, actually for women across the country who come forward and have been ignored. That was a really great quote. And I wanted to read it because I thought it was, powerful, and she's taking the lead on this. But he, the defamation suit is that he basically said what? That she wasn't attractive enough for him type of thing? And that it didn't happen.
And also, I haven't read the suit, but I assume that it was this situation where she, he went after her and he said things that weren't true, which is kind of his MO, but when you're the president, it has effects on people's lives, Yeah,
it has a serious effect. Just generally, let's move on to your most recent piece. You've written about Katie Hill a couple times for the Daily Beast, Molly, and you also interviewed her as well, right? Yeah,
I interviewed her.
She's the former
she has an interesting story.
Yeah, tell me about this.
She's a former congresswoman from California, from a swing district, who, a very rural district, came up, carries a gun, or when she was running for office, carried a gun. Is very she's great too, but she had this terrible experience of the ex-husband had these photos and he says he was hacked and that he didn't release them. Okay, that's what he says. And so they somehow found their way to this Republican leaning site called Red State. And this piece was authored by a woman who is a conservative political person who worked for the man who ran against Katie Hill. So a lot of coincidences there.
But this is not, a lot of people were referring to this as revenge porn. And you say in your piece, first of all, she did screw up. She was having a relationship with a staffer.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
And then she brings her husband into it, and he's got the pictures of it. So that's bad. But then obviously the fact that he put them out there, or that's the insinuation, you say you refer to it as revenge porn, and she calls it something different. Now I can't find it in the article.
She calls it cyber exploitation, which is because she wasn't out to make pornography, and revenge porn sort of
insinuates you were performing for a camera. Right. You knew it.
Or that you knew it was going on.
Right.
Which I think is an important,
I love that.
If we've learned anything, it's that words matter,
That distinction is really very important. And so Katie Hill ends up resigning. She gives this really amazing, heartfelt speech on the House floor, her last speech as a congresswoman. And you talk about the fact that, getting back to the MAGA MeatGrinder, and she talks about it in that speech, she wouldn't get out of bed for a while. She was suicidal. What happened to her? What did she go through?
She tried to kill herself. She wrote an op-ed about it in the New York Times. She tried to kill herself. She was really, really, it was just a terrible experience. She had just a horrible time. And
I said that was the MAGA MeatGrinder. That isn't a real example of that. I'm sure he did, though, go after her, didn't he?
No, he didn't go after her.
Didn't.
And actually, an interesting thing is that she thinks that part of the reason why he didn't go after her may have been that Matt Gaetz stood up for her, because Matt Gaetz is a millennial, and he had this sort of, he had kind of this, he sort of protected her. He sort of stood up for her. It's weird as that is. I know it's weird.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see him have a redeeming moment, if not quality.
Right. I mean, he's a millennial. So he believes in climate change. I mean, he believes in some things. I mean, he's also just, a total Trumpian shill, but.
Let's talk about Lisa Page, because that piece for you was huge, that she only talked to you. This is, of course, the former FBI lawyer who was caught up in all the aftermath. Well, so many things, but the president and so many others targeted. Her text messages with the FBI agent were seen as political by some, and so on. And she was absolutely destroyed. The president of the United States made fun of her day in and like over and over. And she finally decided to speak out to you. Why? Like, can you just tell me anything about how you made that connection with her? Yeah.
So a friend of mine tweeted something about her. So I went and started, I contacted her, and she was like, I'm never going to talk. And my friend gave her my number, and I said, give her my number. And he said, she's never going to talk to you. And I said, okay, that's all right. You don't have to talk to me. And then she messaged me and said, I can't talk to you. And I said, all right, well, you don't have to talk to me. Just use this as my number if you want to text. And then, we went back and forth, right? That they always, I mean, the good interview, the interview you want, the interview that is like the amazing interview, is the person who will never talk to you, right?
Yeah.
Because the bad interview is like, I'm plugging my book, and this is your opportunity with 7,000 other people to talk to me about my immediate, like, okay. So she said, I'm not going to talk to you. So we went back and forth, and I just was there. And I said, if you want to talk, we can talk. And if you don't, it's fine. And then I sort of thought she would never talk to me. And then one day she was like, I think I will. And I was like, all right. So I went down to DC and I talked to her. And she had a lot, like, part of it was that I was the only one who got to her. But part of it was she also just had a lot to say. And she's very, very smart. So it was one of these perfect things where she's very, very smart. She has a lot to say. And when people have a lot to say and they're really smart and they're lawyers and they know a lot of stuff and they're completely self-made, you get a very good interview, And
you certainly did. Everybody's got, it's so good. And
the other thing, just to interrupt you about her is,
I interrupted you.
She is a completely, like, she's self-made. So, and she also had this like incredibly pure motive, which was that she wanted to, she wanted to like do what she could to protect the FBI, which was this institution that she had given her entire life to. And that's pretty noble.
And then in the end, she feels like the FBI and Department of Justice that she was so proud to work in didn't have her back, to say the least.
Yeah, it didn't have her back. And also it just, they're terrible. I mean, it's not that Trump has decimated this institution.
Yeah. How I mean, morally, I mean, organizationally, like when you say decimated, he has just ridiculed them and called them scum and all kinds of different descriptions of attacks on specific people there. But I wonder, I mean, are you saying that you've talked to a lot of people there and you've heard specific things? What do you know?
Yeah, I know that they're just, these people he's ruined the institution. I mean, he's gotten rid of all these people. He's gotten rid of a lot of these incredible career officials because he is so just absolutely terrible. I don't know. I mean, I know why. I think it's because he takes the side of the oligarchs and not the side of like the actual, American institutions. Yeah. I mean, it's like why he believed Putin and didn't believe his own
national security apparatus, the entire
exactly.
thing. So Lisa Page, I mean, she didn't want to come forward because, I mean, intelligently, if you say anything, if you speak out against him, he's only going to tweet about you and talk about you. And he's the president of the United States, and it's going to be, it's going to wreak havoc on your life, on your reputation. Every single statement is there. She must have thought this all through. So she decided she had had enough when the president talked about her at a rally and did this kind of impersonation of her having an orgasm. Again, this is the woman who had a relationship, an affair with another FBI agent named Peter Strzok. And so he made it very sexual. And after that, that was the breaking point for her when he did that she decided, now I've got to come forward. Why? What changes those?
I think she thought, he's never going to leave me alone, so I might as well just go and talk. And, you know, good on her. You know, I get it, man. Well,
you wrote a follow-up to this piece titled "Lisa Page is a Casualty, Not a Victim." What was, you know, this is a huge, huge hit for you to get her to talk, and it means a lot of people read it. And so I'm really curious to see, you know, the reaction, which you write about here for the Daily Beast. How has the reaction to your interview with Lisa Page, putting her back in the news, been for, what did you hear, and how has it been for her? Have you talked to her?
Yeah, I talk to her all the time. I'm actually going to see her today.
Very nice.
You know, for her, it's been, I think, you know, look, I have said this to her all along. The worst stuff, the really bad stuff has been weaponized against her. It's the good stuff that nobody knew. So it was this situation where, so I think the fact that she got some support, remember, she had just been targeted by the far right outlets. She hadn't been even in the normal news, you know. I think that I mean, I can't speak for her, but I think she's doing okay. And you know, I do not think she regrets it, but
the headline
I haven't asked her.
The headline is Lisa Page is a casualty, not a victim. What's the distinction, Molly?
Well, because she didn't, you know, that is also a response to Kellyanne Conway saying that that Kellyanne, you know, is one of the president's favorite attack dogs. And she immediately went after Lisa and said that Lisa was feeling bad for herself and that she was being a victim. And that was the response to that was, no. That's not what's going on at all.
I mean, you're one of the bright lights, Molly. I'll let you go, but you're one of the bright lights in the media right now, because I think of these women's stories who you're telling are really powerful. It really resonated reading them with you. I mean, I like talking to you about literally anything. I really like talking to you. I really like you, and I admire you. But I'm really happy to see that you're gaining the trust of these women and telling their stories. Read it at the Daily Beast. Follow Molly, who's prolific on social media, Instagram and Twitter. I'll talk to you soon again, I hope. Anytime you can talk. Yeah. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Molly.
Okay. All right. Please, I would love it. Yay. Okay, thanks, Pete. Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you, Molly Jong Fast. And I wanted to play for you something. Well, I want to play for you Katie Hill's resignation speech. I wanted to edit out just some excerpts, but I couldn't pick what I could take out. It would leave it also out of context. It's only about 7 minutes long. But again, the Congresswoman, who is now in the midst of this messy divorce, according to USA Today, has denied an accusation she had an affair with a male congressional staffer, which is a more serious of two charges that violates new House rules. But she admitted and apologized for having a relationship with a young female member of her campaign staff. Sexually explicit photos of her with the campaign staffer were published on Red State, as Molly said, and she accused her estranged husband, who allegedly participated in the affair, of being behind the photo release. There's a lot of implications about this, a lot of thoughts about this, but I was very inspired and motivated and impressed with her speech. And I wanted to just share it with you. You can fast forward through it if you don't like it, if you want to get to the president's phone call with me. But I think this 7 minutes is absolutely worth listening to, and maybe sharing with your friends, sharing with the men and women, of course, in your life. Here it is right now, Katie Hill, her resignation speech from the House floor.
This is the last speech that I will give from this floor as a member of Congress. I wasn't ready for my time here to come to an end so soon. It's a reality I'm still grappling with, and I will be for a long time to come. I expected, or I at least hoped, to be here for as long as the voters of California's 25th district deemed me worthy of the honor of representing them. I thought I could make a difference here in making our community, our great country, and the world a better place for generations to come. I, like so many of my colleagues, ran for office because I believed that our political system was broken, controlled by the powerful and the wealthy, ignoring and failing the regular people that it's supposed to serve. I came here to give a voice to the unheard in the halls of power. I wanted to show young people, queer people, working people, imperfect people, that they belong here, because this is the people's house. I fell short of that, and I'm sorry. To every young person who saw themselves and their dreams reflected in me, I'm sorry. To those who felt like I gave them hope in one of the darkest times in our nation's history, I'm sorry. To my family, my friends, my staff, my colleagues, my mentors, to everyone who has supported and believed in me, I'm sorry. To the thousands of people who spent hours knocking doors in the hot summer sun, who made countless phone calls, who sacrificed more than I could ever know to give everything they could in every possible way so that I could be here, I am so, so sorry. And to every little girl who looked up to me, I hope that one day you can forgive me. The mistakes I made and the people I've hurt that led to this moment will haunt me for the rest of my life, and I have to come to terms with that. Ever since those images first came out, I've barely left my bed. I've ignored all the calls and the texts. I went to the darkest places that a mind can go, and I've shed more tears than I thought were possible. I've hidden from the world because I'm terrified of facing the people that I let down. But I made it through because the people who love me most dragged me back into the light and reminded me that I was stronger than that. To those of you who were by my side in my worst moments, you know who you are. I love you, I'm so grateful, and I will never forget. And I'm here today because so many of the people I let down, people close to me, supporters, colleagues, people I've never even met, told me to stand back up, and that despite all of my faults, they still believed in me, and they were still counting on me. And I realized that hiding away and disappearing would be the one unforgivable sin. I will never shirk my responsibility for this sudden ending to my time here, but I have to say more because this is bigger than me. I am leaving now because of a double standard. I'm leaving because I no longer want to be used as a bargaining chip. I'm leaving because I didn't want to be peddled by papers and blogs and websites used by shameless operatives for the dirtiest gutter politics that I've ever seen, and the right-wing media to drive clicks and expand their audience by distributing intimate photos of me taken without my knowledge, let alone my consent, for the sexual entertainment of millions. I'm leaving because of a misogynistic culture that gleefully consumed my naked pictures, capitalized on my sexuality, and enabled my abusive ex to continue that abuse, this time with the entire country watching. I am leaving because of the thousands of vile, threatening emails, calls, and texts that made me fear for my life and the lives of the people that I care about. Today is the first time I've left my apartment since the photos, taken without my consent, were released, and I'm scared. I'm leaving because for the sake of my community, my staff, my family, and myself, I can't allow this to continue. Because I've been told that people were angry when I stood strong after the first article was posted, and that they had hundreds more photos and text messages that they would release bit by bit until they broke me down to nothing, while they used my faults and my past to distract from the things that matter most. I'm leaving because there is only one investigation that deserves the attention of this country, and that's the one that we voted on today. Today, I ask you all to stand with me and commit to creating a future where this no longer happens to women and girls. Yes, I'm stepping down, but I refuse to let this experience scare off other women who dare to take risks, who dare to step into this light, who dare to be powerful. It might feel like they won in the short term, but they can't in the long term. We cannot let them. The way to overcome this setback is for women to keep showing up, to keep running for office, to keep stepping up as leaders, because the more we show up, the less power they have. I'm leaving, but we have men who have been credibly accused of intentional acts of sexual violence and remain in boardrooms, on the Supreme Court, in this very body, and worst of all, in the Oval Office. So the fight goes on to create the change that every woman and girl in this country deserves. Here in the halls of Congress, the fight will go on without me. And I trust so many of my colleagues to be strong on this front while I move on to one of the many other battlefields, because we have an entire culture that has to change, and we see it in stark clarity today. The forces of revenge by a bitter, jealous man, cyber exploitation, and sexual shaming that target our gender and a large segment of society that fears and hates powerful women have combined to push a young woman out of power and say that she doesn't belong here. Yet a man who brags about his sexual predation, who's had dozens of women come forward to accuse him of sexual assault, who pushes policies that are uniquely harmful to women, and who has filled the courts with judges who proudly rule to deprive women of the most fundamental right to control their own bodies, sits in the highest office of the land. And so today, as my last vote, I voted on impeachment proceedings, not just because of corruption, obstruction of justice, or gross misconduct, but because of the deepest abuse of power, including the abuse of power over women. Today, as my final act, I voted to move forward with the impeachment of Donald Trump on behalf of the women of the United States of America. We will not stand down. We will not be broken. We will not be silenced. We will rise, and we will make tomorrow better than today. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time for now, but not forever.
There she goes, Katie Hill. What did you think? Let me know. Love to hear from you. And now for something a little different. My conversation with the President of the United States of America.
White House switchboard, making America great again.
Hi, this is Pete Dominick for the President.
All right, what for?
We have an interview set up, so if you could just connect me with the President, that'd be great.
Of course, we'll do that right now. Stand by.
Okay, so what do we have? This is this? I was told there's a dominatrix on the phone. We love that.
No, sir. It's Pete Dominick.
Who?
Pete Dominick. You used to do my show at Sirius XM. Stand Up with Pete Dominick.
Well, you know what? The X. We love the X. We were a big fan of the Triple X genre of movies. It's French. Not a lot of people know that, but I don't remember a Pete, whoever you are from Sirius TV. Though we love what they're doing. They're doing good work.
Well, that's all in the past anyway, sir. That's fine. Thank you for taking my call tonight. I appreciate a few minutes of your time today.
So is this just like a personal call?
No, this is for my podcast. We're taping this for my podcast. No one told you?
You know what? Of course, obviously they told me. I mean, as you very well know, I have one of the great memories. So obviously I'm aware that we had an appointment, a great chance to talk with one of my great MAGA people. I can see from the video chat that you have a great bald head of white skin. So obviously you're one of our great MAGA people.
No, I'm actually not. I'm definitely not a supporter of yours. There's no doubt about it. I am not a supporter.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's why you're doing a podcast instead of with Serious Motion Pictures.
Oh, wow. Hurtful. Well, you do a podcast, right?
Well, I think, about time you mentioned it, I have one of the great podcasts. It's called Making Podcasts Great Again. That's what we're doing. We're making podcasts great again. See how the title fits what we're doing. It's called Great Branding is what it's called.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And it's on the Tim Cook Gay Tunes, the Gay Apple music site. It's there. We love that.
Is it available everywhere that podcasts are available or just?
Well, it's available on Spotify because those are some of our great Swedish people that we would love to have come to this country.
Right.
It's on other sites, but we mostly like the Tim Apple gay music.
Yeah, I'm not
website.
sure why you have to say anything about the CEO's sexuality.
Well, because, we're just calling it like it is. That's what the company is.
No, the company. Anyway,
Gay apple cooks.
Just a few questions
They
for you.
cook gay apples, okay? They like apple pies, a lot of extra flair.
There's such a thing. So just a few quick questions for you. I know your time, of course, is really important. First of all, I know I thought it was pretty reprehensible last week when you went after the 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, who is a hero throughout the world, fighting the climate crisis. And
well, she's losing, and I prefer people that fight and win. She is losing against climate change. And we, by the way, call her Baby Brienne of Tarth.
I'm sorry?
That's her nickname around here is Baby Brienne of Tarth. It's a Game of Thrones reference.
Oh, all right. Well, that's also wrong. But why go after a young woman who's a minor, who you're the most powerful man in the world, and you're ridiculing her? I mean, it looks like you're jealous because she's Time Magazine's Person of the Year and you weren't.
Well, by the way, I don't know if you know this. You should. I already won that award. So that's
no, you haven't. Have you?
That's in the past. Oh, I won Big League. And you know what, Greta, whatever her name is, she should. Greta Van Fleet should be very happy that she's just a minor and not a minority, because I would have gone after her even harder.
Yeah, I can imagine that you would. All right, well, moving on. You've also been attacking a number of other people, including the Speaker of the House, first female Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. This week, you made comments about her teeth falling out of her head, which seemed really, really gross and beneath the.
Well, it was. You're right. You were very right there, because it was extremely gross when they were coming out of her head.
No, your comments were gross, and her teeth were not coming out of her head. Why would you say such a thing, sir?
Well, you know what? I used to have great respect for Nancy Pelosi, because she's like 77, which is like 250 in Trump women years. And she wears heels, which I respect. And she's got a pretty good rack for an old lady.
Oh, God, sir. That is really.
Excuse me. This is why I don't want to go on the pod show with you, is because I say a compliment. Okay. This is what a lot of people would call a compliment. You try to turn it into some attack, and then the libs go crazy like you, and then they attack me, and then I attack back, and all of a sudden it's Donald Trump is a bad guy because he's defending himself.
But it's not
she shouldn't be ashamed. She should not be ashamed to have great breasts at 932 years old.
Sir, she's not you're objectifying her and making you're talking about her body as opposed to her accomplishments.
Did you ever see a show called The Golden Girls?
Yes.
These were old women who loved sex.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so now excuse me, you're taking that away from Nancy Pelosi. I can't believe you have me defending Nancy Pelosi on your cod part, whatever it's called.
The podcast. So anyway,
we'll see.
What will we see?
Well, we're having people look into it, and you know what?
Look into what?
When we find out, I think you're going to see that you're not going to be so happy with what we find.
What are you talking about? What are you looking for, and what are you going to find?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I would. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
but
you know what? Excuse me. I gave Nancy Pelosi a lot more compliments than she deserved. No, and I don't think sir, deserve no compliments.
Okay. Well, let me ask you about impeachment. You are going to be only the third president impeached by the House of Representatives. You wrote a 6-page letter, speaking of Nancy Pelosi, that was pretty widely ridiculed and really just terrible, the things you said. But how do you feel about being impeached?
Well, it's a disgusting word. And you know me, I like to use very good words, very strong words, but not dirty words like impeachment. I think it's a disgrace. I think they are unconstitutional. I think they're unpatriotic. I think they are really some of the worst people we've ever produced as a country. The Dems, the current crop of crazy, sad, pathetic, poorly educated Dems that we have running around the House and the Senate, they're not so great either. And I think I take it as a badge of honor that this worst group of people this country's ever produced wants to insult me and impeach me. It just shows how great I am. I'm
not sure how that makes any sense. Let me ask you before I know I've only got a few minutes with you tonight. But you were in the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and we still don't really know what went wrong. Is your health okay?
My health, unlike Nancy Pelosi, who, maybe too many trips to the augmentation store.
Oh, man.
But my health couldn't be better. That's the thing. Probably the best. You look at Jimmy Carter. Nobody's talking about Jimmy Carter. That guy can't stay out of the hospital. Okay. And
he's 96.
Well, then maybe it's time to go, if I can be totally honest.
What?
It's been a good run. You were a bad president. You've said rude things. Go to the peanut farm in hell or wherever you're going.
Oh, boy.
Excuse me. My health couldn't be better. Here's the thing that people don't realize. When you are as well endowed as me, you have to go to the hospital for 2 checkups, one for your lower extremities.
Wow.
And then the follow-up for everything else, because they got to pay a lot of attention to the, as I call it, the big orange Cheeto.
Oh, boy. Boy, do I hate you. So let me just, in closing here, ask you about, speaking of health, did you get the opportunity to hear Hillary Clinton on the Howard Stern show?
Well, I didn't hear her interview. I may have only caught a half hour or an hour of it 4 or 5 times. But it's really sad what's happened to Howard Stern, because we used to be very good friends, and he's kind of, he doesn't have the killer instinct anymore. They paid him too much money, so he's very comfortable, and now he thinks he's some sort of progressive champion when really it's kind of weak. Did you hear about at the Army-Navy game that you were at the other day that a number of the cadets allegedly were giving white supremacist hand signals on the TV cameras, got caught doing that. Have you looked into that? See, I don't like that language, got caught. Being proud and being happy on TV is not getting caught. That getting caught makes it sound like it's a bad thing. Right. I thought you don't like people who get caught. Isn't that the deal? Well, here's the thing. We're in America. We're the supreme country. Everybody can agree with that. Some of our people in this country are great white people. They're great whites, as I call them. Not sharks, though. And although we love Jaws, a great movie. And it's no problem if you feel you're happy to be superior in a superior country and you happen to be white. If you want to condense that into like white supremacy, just to use up fewer words, I don't see the problem. All right, I think I've had enough. Appreciate your time, and no impeachment. Okay. We're not going to get impeached. We're not going to get removed, and we are going to come back with a real vengeance in 2020 after we beat Pocahontas or Crazy Bernie or Sleazy Joe or Booty Judge or whatever his name is. All right. Well, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that you lose, but I do appreciate you joining me today, Mr. President. Thank you for your time. I don't think we learned anything except that you are racist. Always racist. Maybe racist. All right. We'll talk to you again soon. All right. Well, that was fun. Thank you very much to the president. Don't forget to listen to his podcast, Making Podcasts Great Again. And, of course, follow comedian J.L. Cauvin, Cauvin, on Twitter. Thank you to the White House operator. That was my daughter, Ava. Thank you to audio engineer C.J. Eichinger for holding my hand. If you're in any audio problems, please let me know, and he will help me fix them because he's been awesome. Thank you for all your support on Patreon, patreon.com/Pete Dominick, and I'll be in Charleston, South Carolina, January 18th. Come down to the Charleston Comedy Fest. Know anybody in Charleston? Tell them to come see me. I'd love to meet them. That's all we've got time for today. I will talk to you on Friday, on the Friday episode of Stand Up with Pete Dominick.